That's right, Nick. And just an hour ago, Governor Josh Stein thanking the U.S. Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway Administration for sending more than $1 billion for hurricane relief. It's just a drop in the bucket for the more than $50 billion projected to be needed after all of the devastation after Helene. And really, $30 million of that has no clear funding path. So there's a lot of work to be done, and that's why we're up here this week, not just me, but obviously Brad and our other colleagues here at WCNC Charlotte, creating these stories, telling these stories, and really telling people the challenges that folks have had to get through to see some of the funds dispersed and some of the funds that still need to be dispersed. So obviously we're highlighting the year after Helene and the things that have changed. I've been spending time here specifically in Boone along King Street. About 30 minutes ago, I talked about that cafe rooted along King Street. And every business has a different story out here. One of the owners telling me that they didn't see damage by way of wind or flood, but they did have damage to their bottom line. And that's a lot of what these businesses are saying, hoping that they see the rejuvenation of tourism to come back to this area this year. We have more coverage in just a couple of moments from Boone, but we do want to send you over to where Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich is in Ashe County in Fleetwood. And actually, they have a milestone that they're marking this week. Brad, tell us a little bit more about that and then also the weather ahead.
Yeah, they're getting ready to move this church, which has been boarded up since last year. And I'm going to get out of the way so you can see it. So this is the New River Cavalry Church, and you can still see the water line vaguely on the side of the building. It's about halfway through those windows. Well, now those windows, the reason they're covered so precisely, those are beautiful stained glass windows. They're on the side and the front. They covered them perfectly with plywood because when they lift this up, and Pierre's going to pan to the left, you can see the digging back there. They're going to move this whole church up that hill a little bit so that it's out of the floodplain. It's actually going to be 4 feet above the 100-year floodplain because they had water about 4.5, 5 feet in the church, and then next door in their fellowship hall, they had water up to the ceiling because it sits a little bit lower. So the goal is to move it and get it out of there. And by Sunday, they're going to have their first campaign to raise funds to try to get that moved up there. Now, the weather today, obviously better than it was last year in this time because we were already tracking what would become Helene. Last year on this date, we had potential tropical cyclone 9. This was the second advisory in Santa Erie. I was looking back at some of my posts from this date, and we were talking about the significant flood threat, and it still was likely going to get worse. So it's crazy to look back and see where we were on this date last year. Now today there are some scattered showers. I know, Colin, you saw some of those showers earlier. We are going to see the rain return after what's been a very dry period. Coming up, Brittany's going to talk about the rain chances really ramping up later this week and possibly a cool down. It's nice up here in the mountains, but even for the mountains, it was hot today, Colin, and we're going to see a cool down likely by the weekend.
Hot for the mountains, that's for sure, Brad. People expecting these fall-like temperatures and the fall foliage to be coming out here pretty soon. We'll check back with you pretty soon. Thanks so much.